What is succession? Succession is the change of species composition in communities over time. It results from biotic and abiotic factors. So in this first example, you have a large number of species in the first picture. Species interactions such as competition, predation, disease cause a gradual replacement of species over time, and you get that second picture, where abiotic conditions such as sea level rising, warm water temperatures cause psychological stress, coral bleaching, and eventually mortality. And you get the last picture, which is catastrophic disturbances such as tsunamis and blast fishing, which cause massive injury and death to coral reefs. So successional changes, we can measure successional changes in a community structure by examining how the abundance and identify the species change over time after major disturbance events. Major disturbance events can remove all life from major areas, such as a volcano eruption. Or we could study how small disturbances can influence species composition over time. These disturbances alter ecological processes, but some organisms remain. Do not result in large-scale alterations to community structure. Here is the basic succession diagram. We will start from the left. Left is where we start with no life, and you go through primary succession, where you go to the pioneer stage. From the pioneer stage, you can either go directly to the intermediate stage, or you go to some life and then to the intermediate stage. From the intermediate stage, you then go to the climax, where you will fall back to either no life or some life, or you could go back to the intermediate stage. Here is a graph of species abundance changes over time. Disturbances are less frequent and impactful. Larger, more intense disturbances are required to send back to earlier successional stages. Biodiversity increases, biomass increases, soil layers increase, and sunlight or canopy openness decreases. In earlier or primary successional habitats, pioneer species are typically the dominant species present. These species are good at colonizing. They're typically small-bodied, fast reproducers with short generational times that can tolerate extreme conditions. And though their activity modifies the environment in some way that can facilitate other species succession. So moss, lichens, weeds, annual herbs, etc. And they're typically R-selected species. From there, as you progress, pioneer species are replaced or coexist with species that are intermediate in traits between R and K selected species. So they have some structural complexity. They are longer lived, so they have shrubs, trees, perennial grasses, stuff like that. And the longer the habitat goes undisturbed, the closer to the climax stages you get, you get more K-selected species that are good competitors, slow growing, lots of structure, and a large body size. So trees and eventually typically hardwood trees. So how do we study succession? Succession happens over time and sometimes very long times. So you could study it from journals, photographs, from ecologists, or you could study it without having to wait for the pattern using a method called space for time substitution. This was discovered in 1899 by Henry Cowles, who discovered this method when working on sand dunes along Lake Michigan. He assumed that plant assemblage furthest from the lake's edge were the oldest trees, and the ones nearest were the youngest, or the beach grass, and resembled a time of series of successional stages.